Hello, my name is Gene Birdsong and welcome to today's edition of Shipwreck Hunter. There's only a few places in the world that shipwrecks are preserved in great condition. One of these is the Great Lakes, another is the Black Sea, and another is the Baltic. The Baltic is famous for some of its well-preserved shipwrecks, and today's Shipwreck Hunter is going to be about one of those shipwrecks. My friend Richard Lundgren and his brother located this shipwreck right off the island of Öland in Sweden. It was the Mars shipwreck. Many treasure hunters, archaeologists, and history buffs had sought the Mars throughout the years, but no one was successful until the spring of 2011 when a group of divers located one of maritime archaeologists' greatest finds in 75 meters of water. Legend has it that a specter rose from the inferno to guard the Mars, the pride of the Swedish Navy, against ever being discovered. The discovery of the Mars was a culmination of a 20-year search by Richard Lundgren, along with his brother Ingemar and their colleague Frederick Sko. The men had dreamed of finding the mighty Mars since making a childhood visit to the Stockholm Museum, housing another iconic Swedish warship named the Vasa. The Lundgren brothers became professional divers in part because of this dream. The Mars sank on May 31st, 1564, off the coast of the Swedish island called Öland. She came to rest on the seaford tilted to her starboard or right side. Levels of sediment, slow currents, brackish water, and the absence of a mollusk called shipworm, responsible for breaking down wooden wrecks in other oceans in as little as 5 years, combined to keep this warship in perfect condition. Mars, also known as Makalos, which means peerless, astounding, magnificent. Mars was a Swedish warship that was built between 1563 and 1564, and it was the leading ship of King Eric XIV. Mars was 48 meters long and equipped with 107 guns, and it was one of the largest warships of that era, even larger than the famous Swedish warship Vasa. In 1564, during the Northern 7 Years' War, the ship caught fire and exploded during the First Battle of Öland in the Baltic Sea. It was named Mars for the Roman god of war, but went up in flames during a brutal naval battle in 1564, consigning 800 to 900 Swedish and German sailors and a fortune of gold and silver coins to the bottom. What makes this find even more exciting, said Richard Lundgren, is that the Mars didn't sink because of a design flaw or poor seamanship. Mars was a functioning war machine that performed extremely well in battle. She sank loaded to the gills with cannon. Even her crow's nest had guns, sailors, and all the accessories needed to run a ship built for war, including 8 different kinds of beer. This warship had totally unheard firepower for her time, and those cannons played a role in her demise. The Mars went down while engaged with a Danish force aligned with soldiers from the German city called Lübeck. The Swedes had routed the Danes on the first day of battle. So on the second day, the Germans decided to press their luck. The German forces began lobbing fireballs at the Mars and eventually succeeded in pulling alongside the burning ship so the German soldiers could board her. As the gunpowder on the warship fueled the inferno, the heat became so intense that the cannons on board the Mars began to explode. Another interesting side note in the Mars story is the Catholic Church was a problem for the Swedish kings because the church was so powerful. So in trying to diminish the church's power, monarchs like Eric XIV, who commissioned the Mars, would confiscate church bells, melt them down, and use the metal to make cannons for their new warships. Legend has it that carrying those repurposed church bells cursed the Mars to its watery grave. And now we're going to watch a video from the Mars team on their unique shipwreck.
Mars sank during a fierce naval battle. As you're descending down towards the wreck, you're actually jumping into a time machine, in this case 450 years back in time.
We think Mars probably was the biggest warship of its time when it was built.
It was the legend surrounding the Mars that actually got me intrigued as a young boy. I wanted to find her and kind of see if the legend was true. But it was also the challenge, as it were, to find a shipwreck that many other people had tried to find but actually failed.
It's a part of quite a long war. It's called the 7-Year War, where Denmark and Germany was fighting Sweden together. And it's about control over the Baltic Sea, control over the trade in the Baltic Sea and the power of the Baltic Sea. Mars is, of course, a ship, but it's also a battlefield. A frozen battlefield who went down just in the middle of this fight. It was an explosion on board, so the stem part was opening up, so we think it went down very quick.
In order to find Mars, we use state-of-the-art side-scan sonar systems. So the wreck is resting at 250 feet in a remarkable state of preservation.
The cold and very dark water in the Baltic Sea preserves wrecks in a fantastic way. So you can see all the details on all the decorations on the gun, and also the coat of arms of the king. So
the legend about Mars does not only involve her size as a battleship, it also involves big silver treasure, a war treasure. And we have actually started to find traces of that treasure. We have started to find silver coins. We know that one of these silver coins, its estimated value is 13,000 euros. And since there are 220,000 of them according to the records, it becomes quite a heap of coins and values. We believe that more than 800 soldiers and sailors actually followed Mars when she sank down to her grave. So there's quite a few human remains down there, making the wreck site even more eerie to dive.
You can see a lot of bones from these people down there. So the bones are surrounded by the charcoal from the fire and the impact from the cannonballs and so on. So these people are laying right in this frozen battlefield. I think that's quite an interesting part of this story also, that we actually could study a battlefield from 1564.
We are hoping to raise money to go back to the Mars late in the summer of 2017 with Project Baseline and their 2 Triton submersibles to further explore this wonderful shipwreck. I would also like to thank the Shipwreck Hunter members that you don't see. I've got Hector DeLuna on camera, and I've got Scott January doing editing. He's the guy that makes me look good. And remember, go out and find some treasure.